Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Hans, I'm a property investor, and in this video we'll be talking about a few questions you should always ask before buying a property. And the first one isn't immediately obvious. It's asking about the seller situation. So it's delving a bit deeper into their motivations, their reasons for selling, and most importantly, whether they're in a really big, complicated chain. Now this is really key. Usually you're working to some sort of time frame, and the fact that the seller is in a really big, complicated chain compared to a seller that's in no chain at all could have a massive impact on how long things take. As it currently stands, the entire legal process for purchasing a property already takes 8 to 12 weeks from offer accepted all the way to completion. And something not a lot of people know is that roughly a third of all transactions after offer accepted fall through at some point. Chances are when it does fall through, the legal work would have started. So that means both sides are losing out on potentially thousands on legal costs. And making an offer on a property with a big complicated chain could extend that 8 to 12 weeks by a significant amount. And the longer the legal process drags out, the more chance of it falling through. So you really want to know upfront what you're getting yourself into. I'm not for one moment saying to avoid all properties in the chain, but you need to know what you're getting yourself into. Have a backup plan, factor in some contingency into your timeline. It's not a no-go. For example, if the seller is highly motivated, you could still make it work. Just have the full picture. Number 2 is asking whether the property is standard construction. So what is standard construction? This is mainly defined in the materials used to build the house. So a standard construction house is one that's made with brick, stone, slate and tiles. Whereas a non-standard construction house will be made using different materials primarily. So for example, concrete, steel framed, timber houses. Especially coming out of lockdown, there's been a boom in the number of people carrying out work on their own homes. So you need to be especially vigilant to this. If the property is non-standard, this could raise questions as to the quality of the work, so you need to do your due diligence in case it will cost you a lot more money further down the line. And really the biggest issue with non-standard construction properties is that they're harder to mortgage. A lot of lenders won't consider them at all. And this is because if any issues arise, it can be more labour intensive and expensive to correct. So it's seen as a greater risk. All lenders always try to reduce their risk as much as possible. That's why a lot of lenders won't even consider it. And because of this, when it does come time to resale, it could be a lot harder to sell also. So the issue around non-standard construction builds are mostly safety related. With timber framed and steel framed, they're not as fire resistant. And with concrete houses, a lot of the time they're modular, meaning they're prefabricated off-site, brought to the site and then assembled at the plot. With these types of houses, there have been known structural issues. Having said this, non-standard construction houses aren't an automatic no. You can get a specialist lender to give you a mortgage on it, but just make sure again you know what you're getting yourself into. The last one often gets overlooked a lot because it's seen as a minor issue. But actually, of all of the non-structural items, this one could end up costing you the most if it does go wrong. And that's the boiler. When you purchase the property, check when it was last serviced. And when you do the viewing, make sure you take a picture of the boiler with the model designation so you can cross-reference afterwards. So you can see how old it is and whether it's still in spec. If it's a fairly new boiler and the seller can show a history of services, then you're good to go. Whereas if not, you would never walk away from an excellent deal just because of the boiler. But it could be a consideration that you add it into the terms of the sale. So for example, you could add a clause to the terms of sale for the seller to replace the boiler before completion. So I hope that was useful. If you're still here, thank you so much. Subscribe for more.